Hey, good evening, everybody. It is Monday. It is the 17th of November, and you're watching 270 Weather live, Facebook, YouTube, replayed later if you want, X, Instagram, even LinkedIn. I'm starting to put these on LinkedIn. So, those of you that have a LinkedIn account, you'll be able to see this as well. So, welcome into 270 weather for the 270 area code and beyond. Obviously, the thing we're going to discuss this evening is the threat of severe weather. Now, I'll just tell you right off, I am not convinced. Confidence level is not all that high. I've been here for the last hour and a half or so going through the different models. Everything I see as far as if it could become a situation where we see severe storms tomorrow, it's most likely to happen in the afternoon, but a big if, it's conditional. A big if would be if we get enough surface based instability. In other words, if the sun comes out after some morning showers, heats up the surface of the earth, then maybe we could have something. But everything that I'm seeing, and I just went through, some of the models are just now coming in because it's 6:49 Central Time, and this is about the time we get new model updates, computer forecast models. And the ones that I've been looking at keep us fairly stable and really don't the best dew points getting up into the 60s. There is what we call a tongue of higher dew points getting into the low 60s, but it looks like that doesn't happen until we get to just about sunset. And so if that happens, if that plays out, I just don't think we'll see any severe weather. And this severe weather threat, look, it happened, it came up from the Storm Prediction Center just before, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. And I was a little surprised by it. But the Storm Prediction Center is thinking that if we get enough surface based instability, then we could see some brief heavy rain, some lightning, and even some hail. Hail, I think, is going to be the bigger product, if you will, that happens if we get a actual severe weather threat. And yes, there is even a very small tornado threat for tomorrow. Yeah, it's in there. We're going to break it all down for you right now and try to see if we can make sense of all this, okay? So here we go. Let's go, first of all, to the conditions for today and the numbers. We had a high of 62, much cooler than yesterday. 62, at least that's more in line with where we're supposed to be for a high temperature this time of the year. 4 degrees warmer than the normal of 58. And we had a low of 32. As you know, it started out frosty this morning. Some of you actually started with some frost on your windshield, and you had to, turn on the defrost or scrape your windshield, which was crazy after being all that warm over the past weekend. But it's not going to get that cold tonight. The warm air, there's a warm front that's about to move in overnight. It's going to keep us warmer tonight than last night. So we're not going to get that chilly. All right, let me try to break this down for you because I'm a little cautious in that I just do not. Don't misunderstand what I'm going to say. As I have said before, things can change. and they can change rapidly. But the way I see it right now at 6:52 p.m. Central Standard Time on Monday night, November 17th, 2025, the threat does not look that big to me. It just doesn't. There's too many things that are just not there. Instability being the biggest one, but that could change. That could change as we get into the day tomorrow. Now, is it doing anything anywhere right now? Well, here is where we're seeing rain going on, and this is ahead of a warm front. And that warm front is going to move through in the morning, right through southern Kentucky, and with it will come some rain and possibly some thunderstorms because it will be a lift in the atmosphere. In fact, there is the warm front. Right now, the warm front is way back here east of Wichita, Kansas, west of Joplin, Missouri, and down to Fort Smith, Arkansas. But it is going to lift northward overnight and send the moisture our way. And that is what's going to keep us from getting too chilly tonight. And then it's going to send some of this moisture here in the 270 in the morning. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. Now, what else do I think is going to happen with all this tomorrow? Well, let's just first of all take a look at what the Storm Prediction Center has outlined. Okay, let me turn this radar off. There we go. So this is a level 1 marginal risk. It's a low end risk. And it takes in pretty much all of the 270, some of the 606, the 502, the 364, and even the 615. Only the far southwestern corner of Kentucky is not included. But here we are, Bowling Green, Glasgow, Russellville, Campbellsville, Madisonville. You get the idea. So it takes in a lot of territory, and it's kind of shaped in the way that the warm front is going to be shaped, kind of like that. So the warmer air, the boundary, is going to lift northward as we get in the morning. And that is going to create, and you've heard me say this the last couple of days, create what we call elevated thunderstorms. These are usually not surface-based or caused by daytime heating. These are just lifted moisture and enough convection to rattle off some thunder and lightning. And in some cases, with enough cold air aloft or above us, then yeah, there could be some hail. So let's look at the individual threats. What is the tornado threat for tomorrow? Since some of you have already seen on social media, there is a tornado threat tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Well, here it is. And whoops, where did it go? I just had it. There it is. Okay, I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. So this is only, as you see up here at the top, a 2% risk. Okay, so it's not zero. This is one of those situations where I say, because of the kind of situation that we're in, the way the atmosphere will be behaving with that warm front, and then if the sun comes out and heats up the surface enough to get added instability going, then maybe. We can never say zero risk. But a 2% risk is not anything to be, pacing the floor or worried about. I just wouldn't. That's not to say to just forget about it and go about. uh, Look, go about your day tomorrow, but just keep your phone nearby, keep your weather radio nearby just in case. But I really don't feel like this is going to be a situation where we have to worry about tornadoes. It's certainly not going to be a December 2021 situation, not even close. If something like a brief spin up happens, I think that's going to be the extent of it. And those are usually very small and they only last for a couple of minutes and then they're gone. You'll see it on the radar, then it's and then it's gone. If that even happens, I'm confident that it's even going to happen. Let's look at some of the other risks like wind, damaging wind threat. More so north and east of Bowling Green, taking in E-Town, Owensboro, Louisville, Campbellsville, and then over toward Lexington, down toward Somerset, and toward Jackson, Kentucky. There's your wind threat. Now, I mentioned hail. The hail threat takes in a larger area. And if you look at this, it takes the same area as the overall threat. Watch. Look at that. Look at that brown circle, or orange, I guess it is. Now look at this. Same area. There's the risk and there's the hail risk. So the number one threat from tomorrow, if we get surface-based thunderstorm activity, is going to be hail, not tornadoes. Tornado risk is very low. And even the hail risk is only 5%. 5% chance within your location and 25 miles, a radius of 25 miles from your location, there's a 5% risk of hail. It's not much. So I just wanted you to see this because it's just not that big of a threat. I think the Storm Prediction Center is looking at this area because there's a possibility that I think they're just doing it as a safeguard. If we get enough surface-based instability, then something like hail or maybe a brief spin-up tornado is possible. But it's not that big of a threat at all. So this is one of those situations where just not going to worry about it that much or worry at all. Okay, excessive rainfall risk is at least 5% tomorrow, which does include the Bowling Green area. And as I've been telling you, the rest of this week is going to be very wet. So some heavier rain is possible, the kind that maybe will cause some ponding of water on the roadways or some standing water or some, ditches or ravines and things like that could flood, but nothing more than that. So this is tomorrow. Day 3 would be Wednesday. Wednesday, we're going to be in between systems. And as you see there, nothing. But let's go to day 4, which is Thursday. And here comes the excessive rainfall risk again to the west. And then day 5, which is Friday, then it covers the area. Everybody has a risk of getting some maybe minor flooding. But the good news is all of this is going to be spread out enough to where I don't think we're going to have to worry too much about flooding. So how much rain are we talking about? Well, here we go. This is the day 1, which now that we're past 7 p.m., it's 7:02 right now, Central Time. And so now everything flips over to tomorrow as day 1. And as you can see here, we're looking at around the Bowling Green area, much of the 270, anywhere from a 1/10 to 3/10 of an inch of rain. The heaviest rain is going to be up here where you see all this blue. That's a half inch to an inch of rain, like up toward Frankfort and Lexington and just south of Louisville. That's an inch of rain right there just tomorrow. Now let's go to day 2, which is now Wednesday. And you see there's not much happening there. I think Wednesday is going to be a mainly cloudy day and with a little bit of rain. Day 3 is Thursday, and this is when the next system comes in. And now we're talking about adding more rain. In this case, another 3/10 to a half inch of rain, and then you start to see some 1 inch rainfall amounts back to the west. How about beyond that? We go multi-day, and this is where we can start stacking. Days 1 and 2, days 1 through 3, days 1 through 5, and then a week's worth, days 1 through 7. So here is the first 2 days, and we're looking at almost an inch of rain. That would be tomorrow and Wednesday. Now let's go out tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. And now we're starting to see the totals add up. And when you start to see the purples here, we're talking about an inch and a half or more. An inch, at least, here in Bowling Green. Now let's go days 1 through 5. That would take us through Friday. Now look. It's still showing heaviest of the rains north of us from Owensboro to Litchfield to Radcliffe and over to Lexington and Frankfort. In that deep red, we're talking about 2.5 inches of rain between now and Friday. Well, let's take it a week out. Let's go into from now until next Monday, the Monday before Thanksgiving. How much rain? Well, you can see it doesn't change that much, and that's because the rainfall chances will start to taper off as we head past Friday. Saturday and Sunday, there may be a few showers, but the rain chances start to go down. Now, somebody you see right there between Hardinsburg and E-Town, that little bright red area, Rineyville, it may not be exactly the placement of it, but somewhere in here, there's going to be some 3-inch rainfall amounts between tomorrow and next Monday. For us, in the southern half of the 270, we're looking at 2 inches, with maybe some places getting 2.5 or more. It's possible, and you see some spots of 3, maybe up toward Campbellsville, Greensburg, Columbia, in that area. So, yeah, it's going to rain pretty good in the next few days. It's coming. All right, let's go from this to the current radar, and there's just not a lot. Well, there's nothing going on right now. When do I expect the rain and the storms to come in? Well, it's going to be, I'd say, after 4, 5 a.m. Now, many of you around that time, like me, get up. I get up at 3 because I go to the TV station. I'm there a little bit after 4 just to get everything ready, look at everything, make graphics, and be on the air by 6 for News 40 Sunrise. But those of you that get up around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, you may be hearing some thunder. I don't think that during that time is there going to be severe weather, because that will be with the warm front, which is more elevated activity and not surface-based activity. But it's after that, when the sun comes out, if it does, then that's when we'll need to have our guard up for the possibility of some severe storms. But I'm just still not convinced that that's going to happen. But that doesn't mean do not prepare. You know how I feel about preparation. Everybody's got to do it. You got to do it. And so if it doesn't happen, you're still prepared and you're ready for when it does happen. So keep your phone. Whoops, I had mine charging up and I just unplugged it. Anyway, have your phone charged, have your weather radio ready to go. Make sure it's turned on so you can get warnings. Because if something perchance does happen tomorrow, then you'll be warned and ready. Okay? Well, let's move on and go to the Kentucky Mesonet now and take a look at current conditions. And we're already down into the 40s. It's not going to be as chilly as last night when we hit freezing 32. The warm front, when it comes in, is going to keep these numbers up into the 40s and maybe even close to 50. How warm did some of you get today? Well, here are your high temperatures according to each Kentucky Mesonet station. And we're looking at upper 50s to around 60, some low 60s back in western Kentucky. But we started out this morning, whoo, boy, was it cold. Look at all these 20s. 28 was the low temperature at the Corvette plant sensor this morning. Same thing in Morgantown. Look at that, 24 in Burkesville near the river. It's always the coldest, but 24, my goodness. Lots of 20s and a few 30s were low temperatures this morning. We are not going to get that cold tonight. I can tell you that with that warm front coming in. Of course, no rainfall anywhere close to us. It's been a dry day. Winds are pretty much easterly, but they're light, and they've been fairly light all day. We're going to get more of a southeast to southwest and then a southerly flow overall once that warm front lifts across the area overnight and into tomorrow morning. You're going to know it because the dew points, which are in the 30s right now, I think. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, look how dry it is. When you see this tan color and you see dew point temperatures in the teens and 20s and 30s, oh, man, that is scoot across the carpet and sneak up behind somebody and bzz, shock them in their ear or in their neck, or, it's so dry that you can do that. You can create some static electricity. We always did it as kids, scoot across the floor and sneak up behind somebody and bzz, yeah. Oh, yeah, when it's this dry, you can do that. But overnight, when that warm front comes through, the dew points are going to shoot up into the 50s and maybe close to 60. If anything concerns me or red flags me, it's that. It's that the dew points are going to just really soar in the middle of the night or early tomorrow morning before we get up, and that could set the precedent for something strong to severe. And that's why the Storm Prediction Center has put out that level 1 marginal risk. Okay, I kind of showed you this already with the days 1 through 3, 1 through 5, 1 through 7. This is the 1 through 7 rainfall forecast. And as you can see, there's a number of places that could see 2.5 to 3 inches of rain. Remember when I showed you this? I think it was Friday. Yeah. And I said, there's going to be some places that could see 2 to 4 inches of rain. And then the models took it away. And I'm like, just wait. This is one of those situations where you see it, the models see it, then they adjust, then they take it away. The models give and take away, give and take away. And now they're becoming more consistent with that heavier end rainfall. I don't see 4 inches on here for Kentucky, but I do think there will be some 3-inch amounts before we end the week. Very, very likely. All right, let's take a look here. I'll refresh the maps. High pressure is moving away, and here comes our warm front back here to the west where I showed it to you on radar. And there's even a dry line behind it. Now, this, where there's a dry line, that's almost like a front end loader. And you've got dirt in front of you. Those of you that have seen front end loaders, or you may operate one. My son-in-law operates one all the time. You get a front end loader with the scoop on it and then, picking up the dirt. That's what a dry line does. There's so much dry air back behind it that it forces that moisture up where it can cool. And that's what builds the thunderstorms when the environment is right, the wind is right, moisture content is right, temperatures are right. Along a dry line, a lot of you know this, especially if you've lived anywhere out like Oklahoma, Texas, Nebraska, Kansas. Usually along a dry line, especially in the spring, that's when you can get severe weather. So that dry line's not going to make it here, but this warm front and this cold front will be working its way through. So here we go. Here is right now, and you saw on radar, there's some light rain showers trying to get going around St. Louis. Here we go into the overnight, about midnight, and it starts creeping in, and here comes the warm front. Here's 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, showers and thunderstorms with the warm front. As that warmer air starts to move in, that's going to send our temperatures up. But then I noted my concern, my red flag is the dew points. If the dew points go as high as 60, then we need to be looking out for something that could be severe. But most likely, if we don't keep cloud cover around tomorrow between the morning and the afternoon, if the sun comes out, there's not much you can do about it. It's probably going to happen. And these could be hail producing storms because when you go up several thousand feet, there's a lot of cold air up there. Even though we're going to get lifted warm air, it's the difference between that lifted warm air and the cold air aloft. However deep that colder air is can almost tell you at what elevation you could get hail with a thunderstorm. So that's what I think that's going to be the number one thing we've got to look for tomorrow. Hail. So here's noon tomorrow, and notice the warm front has now by then made its way through Bowling Green. It is in this sector, the warm air sector, between the warm front, the low, and the cold front, where the best volatility and maybe instability may happen. Because once these rains cut off around noon tomorrow and the sun comes out, then when the cold front moves in, that's when we could have something to talk about. That's the part we don't know. So here's 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. We're back into the rains. Now, look, the cold front, according to this, is still back into Missouri. If we can kind of stall things, and notice here that the boundary behind this low is stationary. In other words, it starts to slow down. Now, if we can keep that like that between noon and 6 p.m. tomorrow, that means we would keep a canopy of clouds. That would cut down on the instability. That would cut down on surface-based instability. And if it like this, it shows rain going on, then I don't think we'll have to be concerned about severe weather. But that's if it plays out like this. But we won't really know until we get into the day tomorrow. Okay. Now, it just reset on me. Let me get back to, there we are, 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Now let's move forward. 6 a.m. Wednesday. This is the break between this first system and the next one coming. I think most of Wednesday is just going to be cloudy, just cloudy, with a few raindrops maybe, as you see here, with the departing low pressure system. Here we go into 6 p.m. Wednesday evening, and one system leaves, and here comes the next one, back to the west. So by Thursday, we're rainy again with another warm front, almost exactly. The placement is almost exactly like the one that's going to come in tomorrow. And it's going to, the timing as well, same thing, except it'll be Thursday instead of Tuesday. Now, this one is forecast to slow down even further. Look at all this. That's just rain. 6 a.m. Friday, it's still raining. We get into 6 a.m. Saturday, still raining. But look, the front is, we'll call it quasi-stationary, not quite to a stop or stalled, but a rolling stop. You know, like some of you do when you come up on a stop sign, you do a rolling stop. I have never done that in my, is anybody listening? I have never. Yeah, I have. I've done a rolling stop a time or two. And there may have been a time that I actually got pulled over for it. I'm just trying to tell you, you know, some of you do it too. But this front is kind of like a rolling stop. It's not stopped completely, but there's a boundary there, and it's going to keep showers in even on Saturday morning. But as we get into Sunday, this is high pressure, but it's what I call a dirty high because it's contaminated with rain. It looks on the map like high pressure, but it's not the kind of high pressure that you're used to that keeps us sunny. So there will still be a few leftover showers even into Sunday. And look at this on Monday. I mean, it's every single day, starting tomorrow and going all the way through into the beginning of next week. Rain. Not necessarily stormy weather, but rain for sure. Okay, let's look at the blend of models. And you can see that we're going to be warmer tomorrow and the next couple of days with the rain, upper 60s to around 70 all the way through Friday. Then as we get into the weekend, a little, as some of the rains start to taper down a little, or the rain chances go down, temperatures will go down a little bit too, but not any cooler than 61, 62, 63. I do not see still any big shots of cold air. Not yet. Now, there is something that I saw today which does hold a little bit of credence that suggests that we could be looking at much colder air by the beginning of December. But look, this is Thanksgiving right here. See that high of 61 and a low of 41? Remember what some of the grandstanders were showing about a week or two ago? Oh, Thanksgiving, get ready. It's just going to be so cold and so maybe even snowy. And it's just, ooh. Well, look, 61 and 41. Nah. There's your Thanksgiving, and there's your Black Friday right after. Temperatures stay mild. Mild. I do not see cold. At least in the short term, I do not see anything really, really cold. Not yet, but I think it's coming. I think it's coming probably as we flip the calendar over to December. It's going to be there. Okay. Before I move on, a word from our sponsor, R&R Controls, because this is where I'm going to tell you that, you see how the possibility of strong to severe storms just kind of snuck in on us for tomorrow. May not happen, but if it does, if it's something that, where lightning strikes, or, if there's a strong enough wind, could knock a tree branch down into your power lines, knocks off your power, what are you going to do? Well, I got some flashlights, and I've got candles, and I've got this thing and that thing. I'm not sure where the flashlight. Oh, I found a flashlight. Oh, well, all right. Well, okay. So you've got a flashlight. Is that all you want for when the power goes off? Is that blinding anybody? I'm trying to make a point here, is that for some of you, this is what you go hunting for when the power goes off. Honey, where did I put that flashlight? Where are the candles? Where's the lantern? Why not have something like this over here? That's a Generac generator, the number one name in generators. And R&R Controls, based out of Brownsville in Edmonson County. They've been there for 40 years doing HVAC, heating, cooling, ventilation, everything. Well, just within the last couple of years, they've gotten into generators. Now, wouldn't it be comforting to know, to have somebody that's locally based to come out to your home or your business and set you up with a generator for when the power does go off, whether it's for severe weather, severe storms, or in the winter, ice and snow shuts off power and you're without heat. But if you've got this, it's within seconds going to automatically click on and keep you going, keep you warm, keep the lights on, keep the computers going, keep your TV going, all of it. It's one of the marvels of modern day technology, because now with Generac, they can make a generator as small as you need it or as big as you need it. However many kilowatts it's going to take for you to run your house or run your business, Generac has a generator to fit your needs. And R&R Controls authorized to handle Generac generators, sales, service, installation, the whole thing. Maintenance too, preventative maintenance. That's key. You may have a Generac generator that needs maintenance. It runs good when it's supposed to, but when was the last time you had it checked? Well, R&R Controls can take care of that for you. All you got to do is just give them a call. 270-777-2024. It's right up there at the top of this graphic. 270-777-2024. Call R&R Controls. Get you an appointment for a Generac generator or to get yours checked out, because if you don't have R&R Controls, you're going to be without when it comes time to have power or heating or cooling. You need to just go ahead and take care of it. And R&R Controls can take care of it for you. Okay, so bottom line is, there is a low end risk that we could see some strong to possibly severe storms tomorrow, mostly in the afternoon, if we get enough instability to make that happen. If we can keep it cloudy and we can keep it kind of rainy from morning to sunset, sunset now is between 4:30 and 4:45. So all the models that I saw kept us somewhat unstable until the sun goes down, and then after that it's got nothing to heat off of. So that's why I'm just not really convinced that it's going to be that big of a deal. But regardless, prepare, be ready just in case. And of course, I and we at News 40, Scott and Micah and myself, will be watching this all day tomorrow and all night tomorrow night. So keep your phones up. Hopefully you've got the News 40 weather app downloaded already so that you can get the instant bulletins if you need them. I'm just thinking we may not even need them. But like I said, things change. All right. You guys have a great evening. Thank you, as always, for watching and supporting 270 Weather. And I will see you. Check in with me tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. on WNKY News 40, NBC, CBS on Sunrise. And I'll have by then, we'll probably have some showers and storms going on. And by then, I will have the very latest update on the whole situation for tomorrow. Again, thanks for watching and God bless.